All right, howdy. Welcome to our afternoon dojo here. I've got a few guys right now, a few guys and gals, and then I'm sure we'll have a little bit more trickle in here in a minute. This was, again, on Fridays, we get a little weird with it. It's Deep Friday. It's Philosophical Friday. This is more about finding out why people do things and the why behind what we do and really the world. So we get a lot of weird answers here. But just want to check in on you guys here right now. So, Victoria, how's your day going?
It's good.
Now you're all mic'd up. Good. Frank, how are you doing?
Good. It's been a busy week.
Busy week for sure. Alice, how are you?
Good. Making a lot of calls, learning a lot.
Okay,
This week
good.
has been very informational.
Good. Yeah, it's a whole lot of information before you really have to hit the ground running. Even Christopher's getting in some conversations today too. He was surprised. He heard me use my stern voice when somebody tried to hang up.
Oh yeah,
I was their agent.
I was shocked at what he said.
And they hung up on him, and I go, "You call him back right now." And he goes, "What?" And I go, "Yeah, you call him back right now." And you go, "I think you misunderstood."
Right. You sent me a Christmas card.
I'm your agent here. I've got your social. Okay, this ain't a sales call. I already sold you. Okay, this is a service call here. So for our topic today, we are hanging out with the youngins here. This is viral on TikTok right now, which I know you absolutely hate.
Yes.
But this is viral right now. There is an old man with a graph, and he kind of goes into some different definitions and things like that. So we're going to make it a little bit more about learning from mistakes. Is kind of what this topic is going to be. How to grow yourself, how to become better by looking back on your mistakes and finding out. So to start here, I'm going to push my chair over real quick. Welcome to the mess around and find out graph. Okay?
That's
hilarious.
Oh.
But I know you hate Fridays here because we get philosophical. This is not about Medicare. This is not about agent. This is not agent. It's not about senior market, whatever it is. This is about yourself. This is what Fridays are for. Friday feels. Okay. So this went viral. This guy doing this graph. And I just sat there at night and I'm like, how do I turn this into something good? What can I possibly get out of this funny viral clip? And then it finally clicked. And I go, this does kind of talk about agent stuff. And then Brad earlier, he was like, hey, you got an idea for a dojo? And I was like, this is what we're doing today. And he goes, oh, so it's like failing forward. And I go, got it. So what this is, what you and me were talking about the voicemail and things like that. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you only messing around a little bit, right? You're only tweaking very minute things. You ain't going to find out a lot about how it works, are you? Mm-hmm. You're not. If you leave the same voicemail and you expect callbacks galore and you never get callbacks, you're not trying anything new. You don't know if it's going to work. You really don't. So with this graph here and what we'll kind of get into how we do it, you really got to mess around in order for you to find out what works. You really do. You got to go 10 and 10 to do it. So that was my little graph. That's what I wanted. Now for the conversation side about it. So, Frank, how many times have you made edits to the script that we have? Or has it always been the same since 1984?
Maybe over 100 times.
Okay. So Frank
maybe it started off really strong by the time I got it, but we had a period of time where people were coming in and what they ended up doing is they over innovated and they had jacked it up. And then when we got back to the core, it started from 0-1, like back in the day, Brandon and Frank Todd doing it. And then we started from there. Then it was probably about 50, 60 times. just updates, reflections, and some concepts and things of that nature. I will tell you this, the utter havoc of uncontrolled innovation and no time to actually test and see if your development worked. And the egos that were involved in those massive things that screwed it up really did mess it up badly.
Mhm.
So yes, I agree with you, you have to mess around. But you also have to give time and document. The find out part is also a timeline.
Mhm. This is basically what we've been talking about, A/B testing.
Right? You have to A/B test your stuff.
This is exactly what it is. So for you guys, as starting new here, and very first steps of your career here of being agents, right now you're kind of we're in this stage a little bit, right? Where we know our footing, we know what we have to do, but we don't want to deviate too much from it because we don't want to get ourselves lost or get ourselves in a hole that we can't dig ourselves out of and say, how the heck did we get here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So right now you guys are here. Eventually you're going to move up in this to where you have your own style. You have your own voicemail. You can call somebody back that just hung up on you and say, no, Colonel Sanders, you're wrong.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
there's an interplay between what you're told to do and then maybe trying something that's your own idea or something like that. Like so like you get a script and Jacob said to me, why don't you try this? And I'm like, well, I'm following the script. And he's like, well, why don't you try the Jacob style, right? Leave voicemail like that. So variations from the script perhaps at points that you create on your own, but that's like a balance, right?
Correct. And everybody has their own. Frank did not walk in day one and he knew how to leave a perfect voicemail, how to close. I know the former Marine, see, I'm improving here myself. Who would be surprised? So he did not walk in day one and just know everything. And, here's a script. Here you go. This is going to help you here. Just read it off. And every person he called was a sale. It never happens like that. But you have to take the steps to grow and realize when you're trying something and it works, you go, okay, I found out that works. Or if you try it and it doesn't work, you have to then look back on yourself and see, okay, I know this did not work. Why did this not work? And you have to figure out. This not only goes to conversations, phone calls, this goes to training.
Yeah.
For us too, Victoria. Is it better to have them in here, go over everything, just not shadow them, but corral them from the world? Or is it better just throw them loose and say, hey, here you go. The best way to learn is on the phone, talking to somebody.
A good example, when I first came here, the script itself had been modified to say, hi, Mr. or Mrs. last name. This is Frank Bryant with, back in the day, Medicare 360, which is Medicare Gurus. I'm calling you today because I want to help you save money on your Medicare supplement insurance. And then also would be like, hi, Mr. Then little innovation. Hi, Mr. So-and-so. This is Frank Bryant with Medicare Gurus. I'm calling you today because we saw that you went online and went to our website for help saving money on your Medicare supplement. Click.
Yeah.
Eventually, what ends up happening over time is I got it down to, hey, Jacob, it's Frank Bryant over here at Medicare Gurus. I'm a Medicare specialist in the state of Texas. I'm here to help you with your Medicare. What's going on? And then, but that takes several iterations, right?
Mm-hmm.
That takes time.
So yeah, to your point, Frank, like in the script, it says, I'm responding to a request you made for help with your Medicare.
Mhm.
And then I actually just today, somebody's like, well, I didn't request it. You didn't get anything from me, like that. So, but I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on that because it's in the script.
Yes.
It says, I'm responding to your request for Medicare, help
question.
with Medicare.
I want you to think about this very carefully, what you're asking right now. How many times have you encountered that?
Once.
And what are you doing right now?
What am I doing? I'm in a sales dojo meeting.
Right, but I mean, what are you doing right now? What's your thought process right now after that encounter?
I don't feel that like I'm in a position. I'm just bringing it up.
I
You
know,
know,
but
like I'm not saying that you.
Wait, hold on. I'm not saying.
I'm not
what
trying
you-
to change the script.
I'm not
I'm
saying
just
what-
bringing it up.
No. It's not about changing the script. It's about the thought process that you have right now on it. After one encounter, you were thinking what you have to do to account for that every time in the future. Right.
Right. Well, I guess my thought process is that, that not everybody that I'm calling actually made a request through our, for help. Right? Is that true?
What if it wasn't them that made the request?
Well, that's true too. I mean, I'm saying the script may work great. I'm just saying that
What
I
I'm
got
saying-
some
what I'm saying
feedback
is-
from somebody
what
that's like, that wasn't me, or
I understand. What I'm saying is that, again, it's time and repetition that gives you the data to make a move and think about that. When you first start encountering things, like the easiest thing in the world for people to do is start to react. Right?
Oh yeah.
So the issue is that people go, oh, I want to try that. Oh, I have that. I'm going to try it differently the next call.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the end of 3 days where you've tweaked 3 things in a call, now you have 3 things simultaneously going. By the end of the week, you don't know what did or didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that you have to go and give yourself time under a curtain system, even if it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, I have gone through and had voicemail scripts given to me that were the most atrocious thing ever, and I knew they weren't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I still gave them a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and did the data, and then I tried something else, and then I just A/B'd it with what I knew would work.
Mm-hmm.
Had it. Okay, we're going to throw that out. Start with this and try to develop it and find somewhere in between it. And that's how it goes.
Your point is that somebody thought it was a good idea to put that in there, and apparently it works, or you know what I mean? And like, I've done it for less than a week, and I'm just bringing it up because you also mentioned that, like, if you say, whatever, you said something, and it's like, well, that wasn't me. Like, I didn't do that. Like, I didn't make a request for help, But that's okay. There's one person. It's the only person that ever said that
Could
to
be
me was
50
today.
people. Could be 100. The question is that does it work for the majority?
Right.
That's what
exactly.
A/B testing
exactly.
is.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why you have to get into an A/B testing mindset. In a way, even
Sure.
though we're salespeople, we have to, if we're innovating, we have to kind of get more like an engineer or test bench mindset,
Right. Right. Exactly.
right? Which is
I understand.
you have outliers, or you might even have a large sampling of failure. However, if it works the majority of the time,
Mm-hmm.
then it's useful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's something better, but we haven't figured it out yet.
Well, then you go, maybe that thing, because it works the majority of the time, is something that you should do. But then you come up with another process for the
Right.
contingency. That's what people don't usually do.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's like you said, if they say, well, I didn't make a request, and you could, maybe you say, well, maybe it was somebody else in your household or something like that.
Most of the times when I encounter that, people will go, well, how'd you get my information? Yeah, I didn't make a request. And I'll tell them, I'm a Medicare specialist. I push a button and it brings up someone that I need help. Don't write that down. You'll figure your stuff out. It's okay.
No, I'm just writing down Medicare specialist.
I'm a Medicare specialist. I specialize in Medicare. I push a button and it brings up the next person I need to help. Well, I mean, how'd you get it? I don't know. Because I don't know. It could have
Medicare
been,
advocate.
I've had people from my personal experience. This is just me talking, not talking to a client. I've had doctors put in client information. I've had family members put in client information. I've had them put in client information, forget they did it.
Prime example here. This was a website lead that I got yesterday. They went to our website, right? Within 15 seconds, I was you know what, feeling kind of dangerous here. Let's click the website button. I clicked it. Starts ringing. Turns out this lady is still on the website. And I'm like, wow, who would have ever thought?
Right.
Maybe clicking the button where people go to a website and I can call somebody while they're on the website. Terrific. Her computer defaulted to her daughter's name with her daughter's information,
Oh,
but
okay.
she was looking for the husband. So I was like, so she picked up and I was like, hey, Riley, it's Jacob here with Medicare Gurus. How are you? And she was like, Medicare Gurus? I was like, yeah, you went to our website looking for help. I'm a Medicare. And she goes, perfect. I need to talk to you.
Right.
I didn't even have to do that. So what's going on? But at the end, it was the wife that I was talking to.
But put in the daughters before the dad.
Put in the daughter's data, and she's looking for the husband.
Right.
So I don't even have the person here on the phone with me.
But you cast the net wide, and she figured it out herself.
Right.
And then she started apologizing to me from the get-go. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for putting in the wrong information. I was like, it is fine. You got me now.
Right.
So what do we do?
So, and one thing to think about on this and why that can be so powerful to mess around and find out. People have to understand that when you reach your failure point, it's already done. It's just a job to see if you can salvage it. Right? So if we keep on trying to be too anticipatory in our interactions with people, right? We go in with a game plan, and if they say this, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say, nah, it doesn't work. Doesn't work. So what you do is you just go get into a conversation, try really hard to keep it open.
Yeah.
And by the way, states of confusion are great because there's an opportunity to share. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a conversation where like, how'd you get my stuff? Like, I don't know. It's like, well, we'll figure it out together. And then they start laughing, I start laughing, we start
Right. Yeah. So essentially, like, whatever you can say to disarm them and engage in a conversation is the right thing to say at the
Not
time.
disarm, just engage in the conversation and keep the conversation going.
But yeah, I mean, but to turn them off the idea like that you're just like another cheesy sales call or something.
Cheesy salesperson has a canned response.
Right. Whereas like to convey to them that you really, your goal is to help them.
Yeah.
Not to get over on them or sell them something they don't want.
Generally speaking, to convey that you want to actually help someone, that you have a genuine interest in them, is to not bend. It's
right, because that is really what I want.
I'm not here to make you feel better about it. I'm not here to get one over on you, convince you of anything. I'm not here to convince you of shit.
Right.
I pushed a button.
Language.
I have to help you. I thought we were getting our feels.
Yes, that's why it's mess around.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
Mess around.
I apologize for that.
Ding, ding, ding.
But so that's the thing. And now we've gotten on a tangent, but that's the thing is that you have to think about this before you start thinking about having and solving a problem that's very new, right? You have to give yourself time to live in that problem for a minute. And then you have to go around and look around and see what other people are doing. How are they navigating that? Then you have to come up with your own stuff. Right.
Yeah.
You have to imitate before you innovate. You have to imitate, then you can master, and then you can innovate.
Yeah. I totally agree with that.
Or mess around.
I mean, I brought it up because it was in the script and like I had some resistance to it. So I'm not saying that we should change it. I'm saying that it's something that I ran into a situation.
I understand, but I'm not saying that you're advocating changing it. You're not hearing what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm hearing what you said. What you're happening right now is very normal for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody encounters a failure point and they go, oh, I actually encountered this and it's this one thing. But the thing is that that's what you remembered.
Yeah, I mean, like I didn't view it as a failure point. I just viewed it as like something where it was just some sort of a snag of some sort, you know, in that instance, right? Because for them it was a snag. I'm like, I got a request from you for, you know, we received a request for help with Medicare, and they're like, that's the problem because I didn't do that. You see, so for them it was a snag.
Okay, Mike.
But yeah.
What you got?
Sorry, let me piggyback off of that. What I've learned, the script is your foundation. So you build off your foundation. The I didn't request information is your segue.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you're doing. And you can dismiss that. I understand. And you move forward. This is why we're here. I'm here to help.
Right,
I'm an
'cause
advocate.
right.
That's it.
That's not the point of how I got, is not the point. The point is I'm here to help you and
Move
you have
past it.
something that needs help with.
Yeah, but to piggyback off of that again, is like you have to build your foundation with this script till you're able to change into your own style.
Yes, and that's what we're talking about here, is the ability to experiment or quote unquote mess around gives you the ability to find out. But what we're talking about and what kind of led to this was, yes, we want you to experiment, but when you experiment, you have to do it in an orderly fashion and give yourself time to see what the panning out is.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, is that a lot of people will encounter something right away, and that's what they'll key in on. I encountered X. I need to start accounting for X. When really you should block that out of your head for about a week, try it the same way, make your tick sheets, right? Listen to your own calls, and then go, okay, this is my current result. Good, bad, indifferent.
Right.
Now I'm going to change one thing. and I'm going to track those results across the same amount of leads,
Right,
the same amount
exactly.
of calls the next
Yeah.
week.
But you can't draw a conclusion before you have a sufficient amount of
You
data.
can't even tell if you have a problem
Right.
because you're going to change something that works great. And that's okay, as long as you've tracked what you've changed so you can go back to it and revert.
Right.
Most of the changes, when I say over 100 changes on the script since I've been on here, I'm saying like maybe about 50 stuck. There's hundreds that went
Yeah,
back
yeah,
and we
right,
tried it
exactly.
and went back and said,
Right,
nope,
right.
that's it.
Yeah, I understand.
But the problem is that people don't give themselves the time and they don't do it one at a time. They hit 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 different things.
Mhm.
And then they go, I just can't do it.
Right.
Because they don't
But
have-
see, this is true of any sort of scientific method, right? Is that the
Sales
larger
is a
your data
science.
pool, the more accurate your results will be, right?
Yes.
So-
and that's
so-
why you have to, but unfortunately you're one person, it's a linear process. So you
Right.
are your own control group.
Right,
So-
right, exactly. But
Right.
if you've been doing it for however many years you've been doing it, and I've been doing it for a week, then like obviously you
Yeah,
see,
you're-
like this is my data pool right here, and this is your data pool. Right?
I'm the same way, analytical, linear process, but the big key factor here is it's a human factor.
Right.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
can't really base everything off of this straight line.
Mhm.
Nobody's built on the straight line.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the mess around, you're exactly right. If you don't have a good core foundation, you're just gonna fly off the handle and you're gonna sound awful in these people. You're gonna alienate them. So, yeah, I agree 1,000%. Understand, wrap your head around the foundation and your script, then build off of it. But you can't build off of it in 1 week.
No.
Your personal habits are, to create a habit is 21 times, so that's the issue. We got to take more reps. And when I mean take reps, we got to be talking to people to find out where we're falling short in that, setting up your segue to tee it up the whole 9 yards. You're shooting pool here. You're looking 3 or 4 shots ahead with your client on the phone, but you want to be natural. You can't sound like you're reading this. So you got to import your style. And when I say style, don't deviate any more off the script.
So here's a concrete story for y'all, but I want you to. This kind of explains it as well here too. So, do y'all remember? Well, first off, I try to make Medicare fun. I want to have a great personality on the phone. I want to have a lot of energy. I want to make it fun because you're going to remember fun. You're not going to remember, okay, now write part A, and that's inpatient at the hospital. You need to go. Get woo fun, Ric Flair, woo. Okay, get going here, perk up. But this is a great story. So, and I've told it on here before too, where I helped Penny with somebody who was turning 65, right? And I called him a hot boy. And he was like, I am hot. I was like, you're the hot boy at the bar right now. Every girl's trying to get your number. He was like, they are. Like he knew it. Okay.
Oh,
And so that worked one
Who else
time.
has ever said that, Tim? Nobody. You
Nobody
know
ever. That worked one time. Okay. I incorporated it a little bit more. Yesterday came back to me. Okay.
Mhm.
Same person we're talking about, where I'm talking to the wife about the husband. And like 15, 20 minutes in, I was like, your husband's like the hot guy at the bar right now where everybody's trying to get his number.
Uh-huh.
And he's leaving his job. He's starting Medicare on 11/1. He's the hot boy at the bar. And she was like, he would think that was funny. And I was like,
Yeah, she didn't
he
dig it.
would. I was like,
She wasn't digging it.
I was like, really?
And then you said, I remember what you said
That
to you. You
was
said,
funny.
as far as Medicare
As
is
far as-
concerned,
yeah. She was like, well, he would think it's funny. And I'm like, Medicare thinks he's hot.
He's
Okay?
hot,
I'm not
dude.
stealing your man. All right.
That was-
But that's the exact thing right there. For that one, I've done this. I can now go up to 10 and find out a little bit more. I tell you what, that the first guy I did it to, when he calls back
loved
in,
it, yeah.
he loves it. He references it every phone call.
Mhm.
That he was like, calls up a hot boy. This one didn't work out so much.
Yeah.
But
You messed around and you found
I
out?
messed around and I found out you can't say it to the spouse of the person.
Right.
Yeah,
that they're
it's
hot.
like
That's the
that.
thing,
Yeah.
it's conditional.
It's like that sound
So,
of a record scratch.
Imagine if the conversation, right? the good thing is that in between that period, you use it on several other people, had positive response. Now imagine if you did it once, right? And then the second person you did it with had a negative response and you stopped altogether. Or in some people, I've seen this. They do the right thing and they do a great thing. They innovate something that's great. They do it like 15, 20 times. And as soon as they hit resistance, they stop. Well, that didn't work this one time, so it's bad forever.
I think it goes back to the psychological portion of it here too, because the more that you're going to mess around with it, and if it's a failure, you're going to find out a whole lot about it. And so many people are afraid to try something and have it fail. Like you might have resistance about bringing up ancillary products because maybe you're just so narrow focused that you just want to get somebody a supplemental plan. And so I just want to focus. I don't want to bring up final expense just in case they think, okay, I'm being pushy, or, I don't want to do I don't want to alienate myself here. They're already talking med sub. We just might as well just get the med sub and move on.
I don't want to lose it.
Yeah, you have the sale and you don't want to lose it. That's where people, you're not really messing around a whole lot. You're limiting yourself. You're never going to find out. Maybe they needed a final expense policy. Maybe they needed a dental plan, like the call that we had yesterday where we submitted that deal, where I didn't even know they had the final expense discount. And I was like, oh, hey, by the way, there's the 20% discount here for you.
Hate to bring up death right now, but right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I brought it up in a fun way, didn't I?
Yeah.
There was nothing.
It wasn't awkward. You were just giving her information because you didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And so you said, I'm just looking at this website and they're trying to give you a deal for this. It's a concern for many people. So
yeah, same health questions.
What was it? 20% off?
Yes, 20%.
I think
Hold on, Mike's got some.
I think you need to desensitize final expense. You need to desensitize all of that.
Yeah.
This is a necessary thing.
Also,
It's going to happen.
why are people afraid to bring up death?
There you go.
I mean,
Just
You know
natural
why?
human inclination.
Because you're afraid.
A lot of people
But
don't like
even
talking
most
about
people
death.
no, actually, a lot of people.
My
don't get
wife
talked about.
doesn't.
Well,
But
but again, that's a conditional one-person response.
that's true. But
Okay, let's look at the entertainment people consume. Horror movies, war movies,
Jeffrey Dahmer.
dramas, all of them
Food
incorporate
documentaries.
death. It's such a normal thing, and especially when you talk to someone who's older, they get it. And if they don't get it or they don't want to deal with it, they want to buy something so they don't want to have to deal with it.
So the other person doesn't have to deal with it. Yeah.
Right. So it's just one of those things where we have this, I don't want to bring up that because that's a negative thing. We watch negative things, that exact thing, for entertainment.
We pay to watch them.
You paid a lot. Yeah.
Right. I just spent $25 to see, I actually just bought a movie with Brad Pitt in it. And it's just a bunch of people dying on a bullet train.
Oh, you watch Bullet Train?
Yeah, it's great.
Is it? I saw
hilarious.
it's split. Okay,
It's hilarious.
I have something funny about it. This is just my little humor interject. I love how every movie preview ever is one of the best movies of the year. I'm like,
Right.
This
If
did not-
nobody's
of
seen
how
it,
many?
how is it
of how many?
I will say this,
Yeah.
this movie did not make that claim, nor did it deliver on that claim. But the commercial was just like the entire movie. There was just really no downtime. It was great. It was flashing lights. It was bright colors. I enjoyed it. It was great.
Very telling.
Yes. There's explosions.
Some guns.
Lots, like, actually, believe it or not, yeah, for being in Japan, there's a whole lot of guns.
So, Piggy, you actually reminded me of something that when I was watching the news this morning, it clicked for me. And this is where the mess around and the find out comes from too. We have an election soon, don't we?
For governor,
Governor?
midterms.
Okay,
Midterms are coming up.
So we have midterm elections coming up. What does that mean is on TV right now, especially in the morning where they advertise, because every senior citizen in Austin, Texas area and me are watching the news.
And you.
Okay. So they're like, these people vote. What do they run? Campaign ads.
Yeah, for sure.
It finally clicked. And this one almost put me to sleep here, but it was one about Governor Abbott. Okay. We're taking politics aside here, but this man came on my TV and was like, Governor Abbott, he's not great from Texas. And I'm just like, Jesus. I was like,
trying to scare you.
I was like, is somebody breaking in my house right now? I was like freaking out. But then the next commercial is some diabetes insulin, and they're doing everything's great here, everything's awesome. And it finally kicked, and I'm like, they have probably done so many of those commercials. They have messed around with the tone of that voice so much, because when they're running those ads, you can't go, "Hi, Governor Abbott is a terrible person. You shouldn't vote for him. You should vote for our guy. He's great." No, they're not doing it off of happiness and joy. They're trying to interject that fear. They're trying to tunnel into your fear, that deep, dark voice. Maybe he's not the best.
Because that's how people make decisions.
Exactly.
They're trying to move the meter, right? Like whatever gets people motivated, right? And fear is a big motivator.
But think about how many times that they've had to shoot that commercial, how many they've ran, how many they've done, and see the success behind it, to where see if maybe people go to a website or not. If you look at the Medicare ads themselves too, look at the Joe Namath ad. Okay, Joe Namath, or the not Happy Days. What's the
JJ Walker.
JJ Walker ad too?
Good times.
Good times, not Happy Days.
Oh, he
that was
does one
Tony
of those
Danza,
too?
right? No,
No, that's who's the boss.
that's who's about. I'm just getting lost here on Nick at Night.
Doing Nick at Night.
But-
You are a Gen Xer
Yes,
Yeah.
but
or Gen Z.
here's the thing: if you guys, because pay attention to this, because you'll see it too. When they run those ads, it's a different phone number every single time.
Mhm.
Why do they do that?
So that you.
They're tracking which ad works.
Yep.
Because they trying to find out here.
Oh, okay.
They're trying
I
to
see.
find out, okay, if I have 10 different phone numbers and 10 different TV slots on this one channel, and we run 10 ads, what are they going to do at the end of that day? They're going to go and say, okay, the 3 to 4 p.m. slot resulted in 60 call-ins. Everybody else only touched 5 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to pull all of their resources and assets into that 3 to 4
I see what you're
window.
saying.
Which is the
Right,
same thing
yeah.
we do with the script.
So that's like putting a tag on the time zone, is what you mean.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Because you have all the data in front of you.
Mhm. I
That's
got you.
why those phone numbers are never the same, but they ring to the same place.
Right.
Yep.
And that's where they've done that with tone. They do it with the time of day. too.
Right,
With the
Do
exactly.
it
type
with
of program.
websites,
Market
they do it with
research.
everything.
Correct.
That's it.
With it. The tone one really stuck with me, because then I started to think about the 444 guy, the lawyer guy.
Jail release.
And and if he was like, jail release 44, just call 4. And I'm like, I do not want that guy being my lawyer.
Or do you?
I don't. Like,
Then
maybe
Beverly,
he
you'll
might.
know the number to call if you
He-
are.
he-
If you start, do you know what they do to you in county?
Exactly.
Call jail release 444.
Exactly. Everything's great. Do you want to get out of jail? Great. Call me. or stay. But that tone of it was really, really important. And, they've messed around with that. They're constantly messing around with it.
Right.
We're constantly messing around with our approach and
It's
what
the
we do.
scientific method. It's testing.
Yeah, that's right.
I try not to do the same thing every single day, just because, number one, it gets very mundane. That's how you get burnout if you don't have fun with it. That's why I like to make Medicare fun myself, especially if we're having a great conversation, I have somebody that has a great sense of humor. I'll do that. Think about the lady we talked to about her dental plan yesterday, the appointment that we had, where we called back, where she was like, look, I have this mutual dental plan, but it's covering different than how my Delta dental was. I just really want to know the difference of it. And then, we got to talking, okay, what do you need done and stuff like that. I told her the story about how I chipped my tooth on a soft tortilla.
Yeah.
Okay. And she ate it up and she goes, I can one up you. I chipped mine on an Oreo. And I go, the cookie or the filling? She didn't get it. And I was like, dang it. Like, that's.
But you messed
I was
up.
like, that's a really good. I was like, that's a really good joke. Like if you cracked it on the filling, that's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Right.
But we bonded over that, and me interjecting just the, hey, do you want to hear how I
Do you
cracked my
mean you
tooth?
gold bonded over that?
Oh,
Gold bond.
Yeah.
Really, Nico?
All the way from the back too.
What's that Rodney Dangerfield? This can't get no respect.
Yeah.
No
You're the only
respect
one who
in
can
here.
crack lies. Okay, I got that. But here's the thing, Jacob. I got a thing with all this.
Mhm.
I think we can all agree that the scientific method in learning actually works. After all, we have clothes and cars and things of that nature. That didn't just happen because we, vision boarded it. People had to figure it out, and it took years and years and years. The problem is that 90% of people are not going to do that.
Mhm.
So let's take a look at why that happens.
Because it's
What-
outside the comfort zone.
And why is it outside the comfort zone? What happens when someone has to experiment, or what happens when someone has to actually come to terms with the fact that they are wrong and they're doing something that is not effective?
Well, experimentation is rife with failure and that's just the nature of experimenting. It's like you try this, didn't work.
So
Try
who has
this, didn't work.
problems? Who has problems with failure?
Lots of people.
Right. So let's take a look at that. What's going to prevent you from actually giving yourself the best opportunity to develop and grow and be successful?
Well, you just understanding and learning that failure is a part of success. Like Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team
True.
his junior year.
Think about this. Intellectually, everyone can agree on those things, right? But what do they feel? Are people afraid of being wrong? Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So if people are afraid of being wrong, people are actually worried about that. People have fragile egos or self-worth or self-image. We've seen these people. They're out there.
Right.
They're all over the place. They just can't be wrong. They will argue on anything. They won't listen to reason.
Right. Yeah.
You're talking to one right now.
Thank you. But those are the same people that they won't be flexible. They won't even follow a script. They'll just keep on doing what they're saying, or they'll get on it and they'll never change or evolve. Or the other side of that coin is this: people that are so chaotic and don't have an anchor point, right? The two sides of the pendulum. People don't have an anchor point where they're all over the place and won't give themselves time to develop, and therefore will always be a victim of their own circumstance, right?
Right.
So how do we help people, and how do we actually recognize in ourselves that we're now falling into one of these categories of chaos or over rigidity? And why am I feeling that way? And why am I resisting?
I think to piggyback off what you said too. Now that you said piggyback, I'm just going to keep saying piggyback now.
It's a good word.
That's all I can think about. But I think a lot of people are scared of failure,
That's it. You're the unknown.
but I think a lot of people are afraid of success. And this is what I mean by afraid of success. Okay. Because if you put 10 years into this, any industry, whatever it is, you've always done it your way, and you start now bringing up, final expense, and you're closing, say, final expense, 100%, additional policy here. A lot of people, once they get kind of in that rut and say, this is what I do, this is what it is, when you have to throw something in new or you try something new and it works, you
Have to admit that you were wrong.
you have to admit and be ashamed that you're like, if I have just been doing this
Right.
for the past 10 years, bringing this up, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars would I have
Millions.
made over the time?
Millions.
And with it too, that's what happens every day. If you stay in your rut of, okay, let me just get your med stuff taken care of. Sure, you're gonna get by just fine. You're gonna be okay. But if you want the mess around type sales, the top of the sales, you're gonna have to bring everything up. But nothing feels worse than you saying to yourself, oh wow, I did it. But then you go, why haven't I been doing this?
Imagine realizing you threw away $1 million lottery ticket. Because that's what that feels like when you realize you've wasted 3 years doing it some way because you've been stubborn.
Mike, you had something?
Yeah.
Two things. Quick story, slots. We're at Caesar's Palace. Art Arns is his name, and his wife. We won a trip. They're playing slots. And she's like, look, I'm hungry. Let's go eat. No, I feel it. I feel it. They leave, go eat, and somebody wins $40,000 on that machine.
And
That's
now
an
they're
ex-
pissed. Now they're hurt and they're angry.
Now that was an expensive lunch.
Right.
Okay.
But no, that's the thing. People, when you're talking about fear, you're really absolutely correct on it because fear is a survival mechanism. So it's very powerful. Problem is that those chemicals and emotions that elicit that, they're there for a reason. So people don't like to act. What they do is they like to chase something or they like to get rewarded for something. So if I have a possibility that I could do something wrong, or I have to admit internally that I have been doing something wrong, I'm going to avoid that bad feeling unless I can trump it with a good feeling from something else. The problem with that is on the other side of that deal, you have cortisol, which is a stress hormone, makes you feel bad. Then you have dopamine, which is really good, right? So there's two things that happen in tandem. Some people end up getting elevated cortisol and they don't want to experiment. They get stuck in their ways and they justify their own failures over and over and over again. Other people love to discover stuff and they get dopamine triggers off of like all this stuff and they're chaos. They're all over the place and they can't get into a rhythm. The result for both of these actions is the same. It's abject failure and you're broke. And you don't have any customers and you haven't been able to help anyone because you can't communicate with them effectively. So you have to find a balance. You have to sit there and go, I am not as good at this as I could be. I effectively suck. Every day, I'm pretty good at this, but I actually suck. I'm nowhere compared to as good as I could be. Right? But at the same time, I'm willing to experiment and I want to get better.
I'm breaking that down to a core as a agent, not a salesperson. I think when you go 100% commission and you look at how come I'm not making money?
Right.
What do I need to fix? I need to fix my approach, my the whole 9 yards. And you got to build it in layers. Okay.
The layers are important.
If you don't have a foundation, you're going to crumble. You got to be disciplined at learning the script or whatever the building block is in order for you to advance. Because if you don't, you're not. We're here to get paid. And we also want to help people. This is an amazing job. We get to help people and we get paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
We got to look at the big picture.
Right.
Anyway, there you go.
But I'm just saying, I believe fully that people should memorize the script even if you don't use a single word of it.
Absolutely.
Mainly because that foundation provides an actual anchor point and then you can grow from there. It sets you ahead. Is it the end all be all? No, it's not. In fact, there's tons of stuff that we use that's not even in it. But one of the things that goes in there is core foundational, like you're saying, core foundational stuff. Are you going to understand the things that he just said
There you go.
in that conversation if you don't know the baseline that he built it off of? Right? A $1 million mansion built on sand is going to collapse. So it's one of those things where innovation is incredibly important, but also take account of. If people talk about fear and people talk about this, or they talk about fear of success or fear of failure, really what people are afraid of, they're not afraid of it. They just don't like it. It's called accountability. Some people don't want to be accountable for their own success because it doesn't make them feel good. They don't feel like they deserve it. And other people, most people, will never take accountability for their own failure. That's why so few people will do this. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that's wrong. That's absolutely right. You're looking at maybe 10% of the population that's actually going to do it.
And I think with it too, if you are not part of that 10%, then you need to listen to the people who have gone to the very top of it too. Because just like Kim did a underwritten sub today. Mm-hmm. Okay. And she had to bring me on the phone because the guy just had a few questions, but I was like, hey, it's like, if you need to bring me on, it's okay. I'll just chat with them real quick. And so I spent like 20, 30 minutes on the phone just chatting with him. He's had his plan since he was 65, and I think he's like 77, paying like $500, mm-hmm. something. Okay. So just sitting there talking with him. Finally, after 30 minutes, he was like, all right, let's do it. And I go, okay, perfect. Kim, these are the health questions here. Just ask them the health questions. You have a great rest of your day. I'm sure if you call in, you might grab me too, so I'll chat with you again here. He's like, all right, thanks, man. Okay. So I go walk to my desk and hang up my phone. I look back at Kim. She told him to go get his Medicare card. And I go, what are you doing? She goes, well, it says here on the quote engine, that's what I need next, his Part A and his Part B date. And I go, you don't even know if he qualifies yet. Like the one thing, if you want to get under my skin, if you want to pick a fight with me or anything like that, I ain't gonna swing. I ain't gonna throw hands. I will hate you mentally, But is when people start applications before they either ask a health question or before they get the person on the phone. Those annoy me. Nothing is worse than a hangnail, worse than something stuck in your teeth, okay? Because if you are doing the application before you even ask the health questions, they're going to answer yes to something. That's what's going to happen. And how do I know this? Because I've tried it. Because I've messed around and I found out I usually jinx myself whenever I do an application before asking health questions or being on the phone. Because when I do it, you might think you're saving time. You're really not. You aren't. This is from my experiments here with it as well, because if the person doesn't pick up, well, you just spent 30 minutes doing that.
It's creative call avoidance.
If they do pick up and they answer yes to a question, well, you spent 30 minutes on an application that you can't spend now.
Creative call avoidance.
You can't do any of it. But that's why for her, when I had the questions pulled up for her, I was like, all right, Kim, just start asking questions. And I was like, okay, she's going to ask the questions. I'm going to hear them when I get back to my desk and I don't hear anything. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, oh, I told him to go get his Medicare card. And I go, why? She goes, well, it's the next thing on the app. And I go, you don't even know if he's qualified yet.
The app wasn't made by someone who sells insurance. It wasn't. They're not structured like that. They're structured as a contract. They're not structured as a human interaction. That's why a lot of them ask for a social on the first page, like you're going to trust that person.
Mm-hmm.
It's dumb. So, good example. Jacob, you're a really strong coach. You're one of the best salespeople I've ever met in my life, and that says a lot, right? But people lose perspective, and this goes into that A/B testing stuff. How much experience do you think, and it's okay to think that, and not have an underestimation of what actually went into it, because too many people have been in sales positions, and this industry itself has become so convoluted with marketers or fake producers or fake gurus sitting out there going, well, you should do this. I read this in a book once and I'll pretend I did it. And it's just not real. There's no experimentation on it. But we've gone through thousands. I have a really good closing percentage. I didn't start off that way. It's through experimentation, through multiple industries before I even got here, and then I got really good here. I've sold over 4,000 policies, and I didn't close 100% closing ratio. So there's a lot of A/B testing, right? There's a lot of conversations that go into there. And the funny thing is that you guys are going to be able to do stuff that I can't do. And I can do stuff that you can't do. It's just we're going to be different. But when people go through and they say, right, they take some basic things, like just figuring out the general structure of a human interaction, how to build anticipation, how to go ahead and make them work for it a little bit, all of these things that go into it that on the bell curve of humanity work for 70% of the people, which is the mass majority, the center majority. You know what? I just want to hurry through it. And it makes me mad. It makes me mad because this thing on a screen told me to go get this card, and it's like, whoa. Like, for example, you're going through there. You want to make a teaser recommendation, then you want to go into a qualification, then you want to go into an actual price reveal and an order, or you want to go into a recommendation wrapped in a takeaway and then order but close it. The reason you want to do that is because from, I don't know, maybe a combined with all of our experience over the years, 100,000 presentations, that has the highest probability of close because it triggers these things in most people. Yes, you will have outliers, but to go, well, some intern at Aetna put this right there, so I want to get it now. there's a combined 100 years plus of experience. There's about 300 years of experience that goes into most of the times when you actually go into a mature sales process like we have. There's hundreds of years experience because it's built on as a multiplier.
Mhm.
You have what, 4 or 5 years experience?
Around there.
So I have 20 years experience. So now we have 25 years experience now. You got 20 years experience? 32 years experience. So now we have almost over 50 years of experience, almost 60 now. Brad Jenkins, he has 375 years of experience himself.
Man without the trumpet.
Right. So, and that's what you look at. And all of that experience is actually test it over time, see what works. It doesn't work for everybody. Anyone that ever says that something works for everybody, right? It's like that stupid line, which is great, Paul Rudd. 70% of the time it works every time.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
Savings Harold Marshall.
All right.
No,
Anchorman. Right. It's kind of crazy to see that. And yeah, so that's when you say, as you can tell, I get animated when I hear that. I'm sitting there going, why would you do that? That is the one thing that when you look at a result of a long-term beta test and with massive control groups over many people, coming up with a process that goes, make a teaser recommendation, stop them, don't reveal price, read a prepared statement so they know what they're talking about, also give yourself authority, then go, if you can go through A and B, go through A and B, but if not, have someone else come in and ask health questions so you can take it away, because you can't tell me no. If you don't know, you can get it. And then as that anxiety and anticipation builds, finally at the end of it, congratulations, you won something, go get your card. Because I know that as soon as you win something and I put you into a deal of accomplishment, you will immediately be susceptible for doing whatever I say because you want to keep that feeling going. All of that goes into that. Put a picture on a screen. Never mind.
So basically what you're saying is try stuff out.
Try stuff out, but at the same time,
Listen to those who have as well.
no, okay, it's not try stuff out. It's not that they're not willing to try something out. In fact, I would actually go the opposite way and saying they're so highly susceptible to trying stuff out that they will just go, it's on the screen, do that. And that's where you lose a lot of it. So that means if that's occurring, what ends up happening is that every single application that you go through is a different experience for a client, right? Because they all ask for information in different order, or most of them do. So how can you have a unified process? How can you find out if now your entire process is just subject to how an insurance company thinks you should ask for it or when you should ask for it?
And it circles back to when you were talking about yesterday with Medicare. Was that yesterday or the day before with their Medicare card?
Right.
If you are a professional in this, you don't need a Medicare card in order to start a deal or
Right.
even close a deal. You need it eventually for an application. But let's take Cigna, for example, the app that she was doing. It asks for Medicare card and social on the very last page.
Mhm.
Okay. There is no reason to have that before you ask health questions, because then why do I have your Medicare card if you can't qualify?
Manhattan Life asked for Social Security on the first or second line of the application.
Mm-hmm.
I get your name, and then I get your social, then I get your address. But that's why scripts are so important, because it allows for a level of uniformity across multiple different products. Because we're not selling the product, we're selling ourselves in that interaction with the client.
Mhm.
That being said, maybe we just need to do more script training. But by the way, is someone that's good, if that doesn't change, is that person going to be able to grow and develop, or will they constantly be shifting?
Mhm.
Will they be able to take the time to find out?
And this is how we had our underwriting meeting here this morning. How me and Brad found all of our underwriting stuff out, how Victoria knows underwriting as well too, because we've got a lot of crap declined.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we found out a whole lot because a lot of the stuff that we did got declined. I remember when I started, I declined my first 2 applications got declined. Okay, well actually it's my second and third. Do you know why? It was with Transamerica, and I forgot to hit a button that says where they prescribe medications. they were both prescribed medications, but I put no. Because I was just like, oh my God, I'm getting deals here. Like, this is by myself here. This is great. I'm just going to put no, not even thinking about it. Got Medicare card, everything checked, submitted it. And I was like, this is perfect. Going to get paid. And then declined because I didn't take my time with it. Because I didn't look at it. So then from then on, do you think I've ever rushed an application again? Nope.
No.
Nope. I don't care if every single person is on a call with one of my people and all you need me for is a signature. If I'm on the phone with you, I'm going to spend as much time as I have to with you. You got to love the one you're with. It's what we say a lot here. You'd be surprised. You got to love the one you're with, especially too during AEP when it gets a little busy and you got 4 or 5 people in line and somebody just wants to shoot it with you. And you're like, oh my God, there's so much money that's just waiting there. You're like, you know what? You might not know. This could be the last time you ever talk to this person. It really could. You never know. So that was a little wholesome kind of.
I got a good story here real quick.
Go ahead.
When I first came here, and I'd come from doing international business and banking compliance sales and online software as a service sales and stuff. Those things generally have a longer cycle for sale, and you get a lot of people in a room to talk about it. So these presentations come in soon. When I first came here, one of the guys that was actually running the place was from MCI, which was hey, we can save you 5 cents over AT&T. When I go, that was fast. So it was always dial, and then hey, and then close it. And that wasn't my style. I constantly butted heads with this guy. And I'm a stubborn person by nature. My agreeableness is 0, right? And I stayed on the phone. I would continue to engage people. And back then I didn't really have a personality because I was coming from that, and again, still Marine Corps and air traffic control. So I'd be like, just do it. But I would stay on the phone and I would go through a process. And especially when it came to doing the apps and the stuff on that end, I wouldn't go through the full script. They would already want to buy before certain things, right? However, when someone kept on pushing me to go, hurry up, I would say no. And finally, after the end of the first month or the second month, I got to look at them and go, why are you coaching me to hurry up? Well, so you can sell more. And I looked at the board and said, well, I'm already selling more than anyone else. So what do you want to fix? That's what A/B testing can do for you. Conversely, other things, like especially when Brandon would come over and coach me. Because at one point when you're top, who are you going to judge yourself against and who are you going to steal from? Well, then you have to experiment. You have to do this if you're going to get better. Because eventually you're going to hit a plateau and the peers around you, you're not going to be in competition. You're not going to see anything that's going to register with you as something that really, really results. Then you better experiment and give yourself time in that experimentation so you can continually develop. Because if you don't do that eventually, you'll do great. You will be a millionaire in this industry if you just perform on average. But if you want to do it really fast, you got to get that core foundation going. And then you have to be okay with taking criticism, taking input, and also be self-aware enough to go, am I just trying to change, or am I not changing just because I want to be stubborn? That was really hard for me to do. Because to get that actual innovation and start playing with stuff, it took a long time. But when it did, it really kicked in.
I think that's a great way to end it. Great story to end it on. So, everybody, again, thank you for tuning in. If you're a senior, love somebody, go hug somebody, tell them what you love them. Actually, everybody here do it.
Consensual hug. Don't just hug strangers.
Consensual. Or go hug a stranger. Make a friend. Who cares? Just go hug somebody. But hopefully with this, you guys kind of learn that there is a little bit of a method to a madness. There's a reason we do things. It's because we've messed around a whole lot and we've found out a whole lot more. So go to those people who have and ask them, how are you doing it? What do you think? So again, thank you everybody for joining in here, joining online. Mike, you got some?
No, I'm good.
Oh, I thought, sorry, hand go like this.
Yes,
I was like, okay, I got you. All right. Thanks again for watching, guys. Y'all have a great one. And any agents out there, go sell something this afternoon. Thanks, guys.